Jenny from the Farmstead Family Farm. Today I am here with Donna from Hazelbell Farm.
Hey.
Hey, we are two American farmsteadhers just doing our best to grow a little bit of our own food, share our homesteading experiences with you, and hope that you can grow a little bit of food of your own.
Yeah.
Yes, and today we are super excited because we have Emily from Bridge Acres Farm.
Hey, everybody.
Yay! Emily's our first guest. So we're excited.
Flattered.
Yes, we are. We're very excited to have Emily here chatting with us today because she has a lot of experience in the homesteading world that we just do not have.
Yes. So Emily keeps goats, and she breeds show goats, and she milks goats, and she knows all the goats.
All things goat.
All things goat.
All things goat. And you have a horse too.
Yes, we have
Yeah.
2 horses and a pony,
Okay.
Yeah.
and cows and pigs and chickens, and
Fun stuff. Tell us a little bit
bit
about
of
your
everything.
farm.
Yeah.
we're just a small farm in Northeast Florida, and we're getting into the dairy side a little bit more, selling for pet consumption, selling milk for pet consumption, raising pretty much all of our own meat at this point, and just trying to use our animals to help us build our soil because we live on a sand mountain, which has been a very big challenge for gardening because we moved from a swamp onto a sand mountain. So, one
It's like
extreme to the other.
extremes.
Exact
Yes.
opposite. So
Yes.
learning to garden in a completely different environment has been really interesting. But I don't think that I could do it without the animals
Right.
to help me amend all the soil.
Right. Yes. The animals and the way they fit in your homestead that way, as far as on the whole,
Yes.
the manure is a great thing for that.
And goat manure is perfect for the garden because it's a cooler manure, so you don't have to compost it before you use it. So I can just rake it right out of the barn and
Put
put
it
it directly
right in
in
the
the garden
bed.
and get immediate results.
That is nice.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we have the sheep for that. We can do that with, but I have to, they're out on the field. I have to go out and, here's a little bit and there's a little bit.
Rake it up.
And actually, honestly, I'm glad that it's on the field because the fields need it too. But, to get, a bucket of sheep manure, I could stall them.
Yeah, we have a concrete slab behind our barn, and I took our portable electric fence one day and I put 5 sheep on that concrete slab, and I kept them there for 2 days, and it was perfect. I got in there with a big push broom,
Awesome.
pushed it right off the slab, collected it, and we were good to go.
Cool.
Yep.
Very cool. Yeah, I should do that. Well, we wanted to have Emily on to school us a little bit about goats and just kind of teach us the differences in breeds and purpose and how they fit in the homesteader's world.
Yeah, because I'm convinced that it takes a very special person to own goats and horses.
Perhaps slightly mentally unstable.
So you are our very special person. I agree. I've had goats here and there. Jenny's had goats a little bit.
I had bought some goats from Emily years ago, and I don't know, I had them for maybe 2 or 3 months, and I'm like, no,
I'm
no,
done with
done.
this. Yeah.
But I would say that was pretty early on when we had moved to our property. That was probably 5 or 6 years ago, and I just didn't have the correct infrastructure set up.
That makes a huge difference.
Infrastructure makes a huge difference in a farm or a homestead and how the daily flow goes with your animals. And at that point in time, I thought I was good, but I was not good. I was not set up, not prepared.
Hindsight's 2020.
Yep.
And goats have slightly more specific needs for infrastructure than a lot of other livestock. You can't house goats the same way you house cows or the same way you house horses or even sheep because
No.
Yeah.
they-
Tell us, what is wrong with them? Why do they want to kill themselves and escape all the time?
I think it depends on the goat.
Yeah.
None of my goats have horns because if they have horns, they get caught in fences. There's safety issues. They catch each other with the horns. It's just, it works for some people and it doesn't work for others. And in the most dairy situations, horns are not beneficial. because, and you can't have horns if you're going to show the goats. So I do a
Okay.
lot of showing
Okay.
and love to show the dairy goats with the American Dairy Goat Association shows and American Goat Society shows. And the goats are required to be disbutted or hornless
For safety
for
reasons.
safety reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And with fencing, I always thought goats were hard to fence until I tried to fence in cows.
See, and I'll tell you the opposite, but your experience dictates otherwise.
Exactly. I think it's just dependent on the animals.
Yeah.
Goats have delicate respiratory systems, so they need shelter from rain, and they need to be up out. They can't be standing in water. They can't be muddy because they'll get pneumonia. But they also need it to be well ventilated, so they can't be locked into a small area or locked into an enclosed barn. It has to be ventilated, and maybe that's all livestock benefit
Right.
from that. But goats just seem to be a little bit more sensitive to it, especially the bougie little dairy goats.
Yeah. So do you find that your quality show lines are a little more fragile? Is it? I mean, because I see that in other breeds of animals.
It can.
Your show pigs are a little more fragile. They're just not. How did I hear a kid say it recently? They're just not. They're just not made to live, or something like that. They're just not made to survive. No, they're really not.
It depends on your breeding program and
Yeah.
what you have kind of targeted as what you want to do with your goats. So with mine, I have selected goats that tend to be a lot more resistant to parasites because I don't have time to be following everybody around and constantly running fecals and deworming and then having to do milk withdrawal because I had to deworm with chemical
Right.
dewormers.
Right.
I don't enjoy that. So I try to do things as naturally as possible using pen rotation and natural things that help the goats be more resistant to worms like orange peels. The orange oil in the peels has been studied and proven to reduce heavy worm loads in
Interesting.
cows and goats.
I didn't know
How do you
that.
get them to eat that?
Mine eat it?
Mine love
You're-
it.
Okay, I can't get anybody to eat my citrus peels at my house.
Mine will just
Really?
go nuts for them. Pine needles too. The
Pine
condensed
needles,
tannins and the pine needles and pine bark. And I usually will know if there's a goat that has a worm issue because it will go and chew a hole in a pine tree so the sap starts leaking and they eat the pine sap because the turpentine naturally deworms them.
Wow.
So
That's pretty cool.
I think there are some definitely more delicate lines, especially if they're going to be mass producers. Like super heavy milkers are going to be more delicate because all their energy goes into producing milk.
Right.
Whereas most of mine are very respectable, moderate producing goats, but they tend to be a lot hardier.
Sturdy.
Yeah, I like the more powerful bodied does because I feel like they can produce milk and maintain their body condition.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to spend $5,000 a month on alfalfa
Right.
to feed my herd of goats
To hold weight. You
to
mean.
to make milk.
To make milk.
So
okay.
I want them to be able to eat some alfalfa and coastal and pine trees and produce milk and maintain body condition. So
right, and be a little bit parasite resistant.
yeah,
So when you're selecting kids to keep and grow your herd, you're selecting based on all of those things.
Yes.
Like how sturdy are they? How well do they produce?
if I have to treat them constantly for coccidia as kids, I will sell them to somebody with full disclosure that this is the reason I'm culling this goat. It does not seem to be very parasite resistant, and that's not my goal for my herd.
Right.
I'm very, very big on full disclosure selling. My herd is disease tested annually. Biosecurity is a really big deal to me because of the links between Yonis and Crohn's disease in humans.
Right.
So if a dairy animal has Yonis and is producing milk and people are drinking that milk or other animals are drinking that milk, you're going to spread the disease.
Right.
So I'm big on disease testing. I'm big on health of the overall animal. And so if there's any issues with that animal, I'm very big on full disclosure because I feel like there are too many people who don't do that.
There are a lot of people.
Shady
So that's
people.
kind of
There are a
kinda
lot
like
of
where
people
we want to
that
go.
don't do that.
Right. Okay, so I feel like we have this young homesteader in mind who, they've done the chicken thing, they're producing a little bit of meat, maybe they've had a couple of pigs raised to put some pork in the freezer, and they feel like, I want to take the next step and grow my homestead. And a goat is the logical next step to a lot of people because it's not a giant animal. It's not a
They're
cow or a
much
horse.
easier to handle for people who are not used to livestock.
Right. So if somebody came to you and said, I'm looking to add goats to my homestead, I have a small 1 to 3 acre place, what should they be looking for?
Go to shows. That's my biggest thing. You can go to fairs, but the American Dairy Goat Association shows, if you want a dairy animal, that's where you're going to meet breeders and see the different breeds and see the different styles in each breed, because different breeders have different styles that they like. And you can see not just what's winning, but it gives you a better perspective as to what to look for when you're purchasing.
So not like Craigslist.
Something to compare it to.
Please don't go to Craigslist. Please don't go to auctions. Never, ever, ever buy goats at auction. Unless you're going to process them.
Everything. Don't buy anything at auction. That's just my personal preference.
If you're going to raise it out for 6 months to fill your freezer, that's the only reason I would ever think buying an animal at auction. Specifically goats. I've never bought, livestock at auctions before. But
you never know what you're going to get is the bottom line.
90% of the people that I have talked to or have come to me for help, it's because they bought a sick animal at auction.
Right.
There is all kinds of stuff in those auction houses, and if the animal wasn't sick when it went there, it's going to be sick when it comes out.
Yeah. Well,
so do you have a favorite dairy breed? What do you have?
I personally raise Nigerian dwarf goats.
Okay.
They're a smaller dairy goat. Usually they're between probably 60 and 100 pounds for the does. Mine tend to be a little larger. They're not tall. At the withers, they have to be below 22 and a half inches for the females, 23 and a half inches for the males. So they're much smaller. They're easy to house in a small area. Our last homestead was 1 acre.
okay.
So it allowed us to have the dairy goats without needing a bunch of acreage.
Yeah.
Right.
The Nigerians were excellent for that. They were a really great introduction into the dairy goat world for me. They still produce quite a bit of milk for their size. I have some goats. Mine tend to be a little heavier because I like the more powerful style of doe. But my does that are, 80 pounds will still produce almost a gallon a day sometimes when they're at peak.
Wow.
And for an 80-pound animal, that's pretty impressive.
That is extremely
That's
impressive.
really good.
They, there's some more moderate producing goats that I'll keep. I won't, if you produce less than 3 pounds a day, which is, what is that?
Like under a half a gallon?
It's like 6 cups, I think.
Okay.
I'm trying to do the math in my head. It's like 2 cups per pound, roughly. So 3 pounds a day is my cutoff point. If you make less than that per day, then I don't really have a use for you. Most of mine produce 4 pounds or more a day.
Okay.
And so the Nigerian dwarves have really mild tasting milk for goats.
Yes, I have liked it.
It's very creamy. They have a high butter fat. Most of mine are between like 7 and 10% butter fat. And I did milk test last year. I'm taking this year off because I got a little burned out. But it was very beneficial for me to see the numbers, see the protein content and the fat content. And I was able to play with my feeding regimen to see what produced the results I wanted while still maintaining body condition on my goats. It was really, I really benefited from
You can really geek
the
out
data.
on it,
I definitely geeked out on it.
That sounds like a decent amount for a family, for a small family.
For most people, that's,
a family
if
of
you had
4 or
2 to
5,
3, that you could have them freshen at different times.
Right.
So you can, keep milk year round if you want to. They make excellent mothers. Most of them are really good at giving birth. The
Nigerian dwarf specifically, is that
yes,
what you're,
dairy. Again, that's something that you breed for.
Right, okay.
If I have to help a doe repeatedly because she has a small pelvis or her rump angle or rump width is not what if I have to assist a lot, I will sell the doe
those
with full
aren't
disclosure
genetics.
that's not the that's not what I'm going for. I need you to be able to kid out on your own.
And some people don't mind if they're only going to keep 2 or 3
They-
goats.
yeah, they don't mind.
That's not an issue for them. But how many goats do you have?
I intentionally don't know the answer to that question.
Well, your husband's not here. It's okay.
And he probably won't listen.
Yeah.
I actually have no idea how many I have
there's
right
a-
now because
there's a
it's a
bunch going on.
constantly rotating
Right,
number because
right.
I have kids born and I retain some and then I sell some or I sell an older doe because she either didn't fit with what I was going for or I wanted to keep her kid and I have to keep my numbers at a reasonable
Right.
level so that I can actually care for the animals the way they need to be cared for. Maintenance is a big deal with dairy animals.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk to us about. Well, before we move on to that, throw out a couple of other dairy breeds if you don't mind.
I also have Sonnens, which are a very large white dairy goat. They
so
are, it's a
pretty.
Swiss breed.
Those are very pretty. They look like little white deer.
And
Yes,
they
do.
are, so Nigerians can be a little neurotic
Okay.
sometimes.
Uh-huh.
Again, it depends on the goat and depends on the line, but they like to yell
Uh-huh.
and they like to have all kinds of crazy antics and, they can be a little neurotic. Sonnens are one of the breeder that I got my Sonnens from said this and it's so true. She was like, they're not super smart, but at least they're quiet about it.
But they're sweet.
They are so sweet and
Yeah.
mild-tempered and gentle, and they never make a sound.
Wow.
So if you are in a neighborhood, Nigerians might not be the best choice because just because they're small,
Right.
everyone is going to know that you have goats.
Right.
If you had 2 Sonnens in the backyard, people probably would never know that you had goats back there because they don't make any noise.
And I agree.
Interesting.
They do look like pretty little white deer.
They do. They look like little white deer.
That was a
Yeah.
fear of mine because we live in the woods
Yeah.
near
Right.
hunting season, and there are some
Don't shoot my
piebald
goat.
deers near our house and near our
Yeah.
property. I was like, oh, if somebody shoots my goats, we're gonna have real problems.
I'm always in fear for one of my dogs during hunting season because she is the exact color of a deer. Like she could really be mistaken.
She's
So,
a big
Yeah.
dog too.
Yeah.
Sonnens produce a lot more milk than Nigerians because they're huge.
They're bigger,
They're a standard dairy goat, and they're one of the largest breeds. I picked lines that were more moderate producing because if you get the lines that produce 3 gallons a day, they tend to have more metabolic issues. And again, I'm in the dairy goat thing with a lot more of a homesteading mindset. I don't want to have you on an IV of calcium
Right.
when you give birth to keep you alive,
Yeah.
Right.
which sometimes happens. It's similar to the high producing dairy cows.
Right.
If you have a high production animal, they're going to be a lot higher maintenance. So I picked from a specific breeder. I wanted moderate producing animals because I do want the milk. That's the whole purpose. But
Right.
she breeds for long lactations. So she has those that have been in milk for 3 years between
Wow.
breedings that she has
Wow.
just milked through because
That's crazy.
Yeah.
and if you want to keep an animal and not have to breed it every single year to get milk, or you don't have access to a buck or to an AI tech that can help you,
Right.
that's a really beneficial thing.
Yeah.
So that was where I went with the Sonnens.
It seems like it'd be easier to swap them, like to freshen them, alternating.
Rotate them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, if you didn't want to breed the Nigerians tend to have shorter lactations. I have not had any problem keeping my Nigerians in milk for the 305 days for milk test. And I have some that I could probably just keep milking because they just have such a will to milk. But most of mine, by the end of that 305 days, they are ready to dry
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
And they haven't been bred for as long as the Sonnens are. That's an old breed that has been bred for generations to produce milk for long
Okay.
periods of time.
Okay.
I actually don't know how old the Nigerian breed is, but it's comparatively much, much newer.
Okay. I had no idea.
Interesting.
It is interesting.
So do you do any goats for meat?
Yes, we raise both the Nigerians, and this will be my first year with Sonnen kids, but we
Okay.
will, if we have any
Yeah.
males, we will raise them for meat.
Yeah.
We also have a dual purpose breed called Kinder goats, which is a cross between pygmy goats and Nubians.
Okay.
That is an excellent dual purpose breed.
So they're a little bigger.
They're bigger than the Nigerians, yes, but
Okay.
they're smaller than the Nubians.
Okay.
They're very muscular goats, which makes them excellent for meat production, but they also do produce a lot of delicious, high quality milk. It's high butter fat because both Nubians and pygmies are a meat breed,
Okay.
have very creamy milk. So when you cross them, you get more production than a pygmy, less than a Nubian, but you get that really nice balance.
So
Sounds like a great dual
that's
purpose
exactly
breed.
what
They're
I was going to say.
excellent.
So Kinders are good.
They can,
dual purpose.
again, it depends on the goat, but they often get the loudness from the Nubians.
Okay.
They can be.
Uh-huh.
I said Nigerians can scream. You won't
Nubians can
if.
scream.
Oh my goodness!
I know.
And if you, I had some Kinders that from inside my house, it was going crazy. Like I had to turn on music because they would not stop screaming.
Yes, for the very short time that I had goats, I would wake up, 6 a.m. early, go over into the kitchen, stand in front of the kitchen window, and literally I would not be there for 2 seconds, and those goats would see me in the window and start their hollering for me.
Yep.
It was
And the
like,
Kinders don't even have to see you. They just scream because they feel like it sometimes.
Jenny's running the hands-off farm, so if they're going to scream at her for being hands-off, then they're out.
They're out.
Hey, it's like survival of the fittest over.
Oh, I say that all the time.
You got to be hardy.
Yeah.
They
No
I always
whiny
say
butts
that
here.
Yeah.
if heaven forbid society were to collapse,
Right.
my dairy goats would probably not make it because they need
Right.
the alfalfa, they need the higher quality
Higher
feed,
input,
higher
right.
input because they're dairy animals. That's why I have them.
Mm-hmm.
The Kinders, they're gonna outlive the cockroaches. Like they
Nice.
are just
Okay.
they
Good to
will
know.
find something to eat and eat it.
That is good to know.
But still a goat.
But it's still a goat.
Still a goat. It's still very much a
Don't
goat,
be scared. It's like less of a goat, though.
Less of a goat. Okay.
except for the screaming.
The screaming.
That I mean,
That's what
impressive volume.
That's great.
I thought coyotes were attacking the first time
Oh
they
my
started doing that
gosh.
because it was that intense. And I went
Wow.
outside and they're just standing there
Right.
looking at the house.
They're just yelling at
Screaming.
you. Come see us. Come see us.
Now, the 2 little lambs that I'm bottle feeding right now, I can hear them all the way in the house whenever they're hungry. And they say, Ma. They're like, Ma, Ma. I'm like, yes, I know. They've been nicknamed the brats.
The brat.
Aw.
That's just bottle babies.
That's
though.
bottle babies
Yeah.
of any species.
They all
Yeah.
yell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aw.
There are a lot of great dairy goat breeds, though. There's, the Nubians. It seems like the breeds go with personality types a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
They, like, my Nubian friends are my, I have my Nubian friends, I have Saanen friends, I have Nigerian friends. They just kind of match the personalities of, and if you're a Nubian person, you don't care about the screaming. Nubian people are obsessed with Nubians and they love them and they love the milk. They love everything about them. And they usually hate Nigerians. They usually
funny.
they're not big fans of the Nigerian goats. I feel like having the Saanens is a nice balance with the Nigerians, but sometimes I definitely threaten my Nigerians that I'm just going to have Saanens if they keep it up.
Is their milk different amongst the breeds?
Yes, Saanens and Alpines probably have the lowest butter fat. It's more comparable to cow milk, like to probably like Holstein or brown Swiss milk, because Jersey milk is, that's its own category entirely.
It doesn't count.
It doesn't count as cow milk. The goat milk is nice because they're all A2 casein.
Okay.
And the molecules are much smaller than cow milk molecules. So the fat molecules are smaller and the protein molecules are smaller. So it's much easier to digest for a lot of people than cow milk.
Yeah.
So even if you don't have a casein allergy, if you're lactose intolerant, goat milk is slightly lower in lactose, but it's not, it still has lactose in it.
Right.
But it's usually a lot easier for people to digest and break down if they have intolerances to lactose or protein, like the casein.
Okay.
Because the molecules are just so much smaller. That's why it works so well for other species of animals as a replacement milk. So for puppies, goat milk tends to work better as a replacement milk than cow milk because it's so much easier to digest.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So, Jenny, did you have a question?
You have all my questions.
Oh, well, okay. I thought you were getting ready to say something.
No.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
Okay, so you talked a little bit about housing. They need a place to be dry. Like, that's different from cows. Cows are like, whatever.
Right.
It doesn't have to be super fancy. Like I have built hoop houses out of cattle panels, the 16-foot livestock panels. You bend them to make a U shape and you can secure it with T-posts and put 3 in a row and put a tarp over the top. And it makes like a little,
Just like a run-in.
Right.
Yeah.
Something for them to go in.
almost like a little Quonset hut. And it's super sturdy. We've had hurricane force winds that have come and it did just fine going through that.
Nice.
And that is sufficient because you still get plenty of air circulation because it has either 1 or 2 open sides.
Right.
But it still offers plenty of protection for the goats. So they don't need fancy shelters. They just need shelter. They act like the Wicked Witch of the West if they get wet. Like they
Right.
think they're going to melt. They are just, they do not do water.
So they just need a place to get out of the rain.
Yes, and they need dry hay. Goats are susceptible to things like listerosis and Clostridium, which is a bacteria that's naturally in their digestive system, but a lot of times eating things like wet or moldy hay or wet feed, it really can upset their digestive system and cause all kinds of issues, bloat and kill them. The clostridial infections can kill them really quickly.
Okay.
So they need a dry food, basically. Don't feed them wet hay.
No
Whereas
wet
like
hay.
my cows will go out and eat off a round bale that's been sitting in the rain for 2 days
Right.
and be totally fine. My goats act like it is toxic poison and it probably would make them sick if they ate it.
Well, that's interesting that it's like they know.
It's good that they have the sense not to eat it.
Yes,
Right.
they would much rather go out in the browse in the woods that we have and eat,
Right.
acorns and palmettos over hay that fell on the ground for 5 minutes.
Right. Right. That's funny.
They're very wasteful.
The picky. So that whole like goats eat anything is a myth.
Oh, that's completely a myth.
Yeah.
They if it falls on the ground, they will not eat it. They will only eat it out of their hay feeder.
Right. So there leads me to my next point. It's probably really important to have good things like good hay feeders,
Yes.
good mineral feeders, that minerals are going to stay dry. Hay is going to stay dry and up off the ground.
It's going to save you a lot of money if you start off with that
Yeah.
versus trying to do it cheaply and poorly, and you end up wasting half the bale of alfalfa. Well, alfalfa's $50 a bale right now in Florida.
Wow.
So if they're throwing half of that on the ground, that's painful.
Yes.
It's a lot of money
That's
wasted.
a lot of money
So-
wasted.
Yeah.
So that's exactly right. Having good feeders, keeping their minerals dry, because the minerals went from $35 a bag to now they're $57 a bag.
No.
And if it gets wet, they won't eat it.
I bought a cheaper mineral for my cows too, and I don't like it. I mean, they're eating it up, but I have a cow who's not cycling back, and I want my better minerals.
Yeah, the high quality minerals, but goodness, it hurts right now.
Yeah.
Everything has doubled, it seems like,
Yes.
since in the last year and a half.
Right. It has.
And so starting with the right infrastructure will save you a lot of money in the long run.
Yeah.
I think that's probably my most vivid takeaway from goats is the infrastructure.
Yes. And if you have, usually 4-foot fences is sufficient, not regular field fence though. They will destroy that.
No, and mine was chain link, and it was tall. It was like the tallest chain link that you could buy. And so I'm thinking, okay, this is great. Well, the goat managed to get up on top of the roof of their little shelter, And so from the roof, he was able to jump off the roof and tried to jump over the chain link fence. But as he was jumping over said chain link fence, his back leg got caught in the very top of it. And there he was hanging, and I wasn't home.
We had the exact
Oh,
same
man.
issue happen, and she was hanging for who knows how long. We got home and found a goat hanging from her back leg.
Yeah.
She was alive, and
Yeah.
we had to cut the wire and it was field fence. We had to cut the wire, and
Yeah, you can't have anything next to the fence that they can jump on.
and that
now.
was the thing. She climbed up like the cross brace on an end post near the
Right.
gate, and yeah, she was.
They
fine.
like to climb, but they also will jump off of things. People like to make these elaborate platform systems for them,
like tree houses.
like tree houses. They will break their legs.
Right. Yeah, that scares me to see
Yeah.
them up like 8
My
feet
goats
in the
stay
air.
on the ground. I will have low platforms that are well built. Don't use pallets. We had a goat flown in from Idaho from a really nice farm, and we had sleeping benches made out of pallets. And he was a bottle kid, but he was, probably 8 weeks old when this happened. So I spent all this money to fly this goat to Florida from Idaho, and I came out to feed him his bottle, and the sleeping bench pallet, one of the panels broke, and he fell through it, so his hind end was above his head, and he suffocated.
Oh,
So it was really traumatic, and it was obvious that it had just happened. I was minutes
Right.
too late,
oh man.
and I was so traumatized from that. I won't use pallets for any kind of like flooring infrastructure
Right.
at all, or
Right.
we'll
Well,
use the
it's
wood
not-
for things,
it's
but
not made for that.
no, but a
Yeah.
lot of people, want to recycle
lot
the
of people
pallets
do
and
it.
use free. Please do not use pallets for
What a hard lesson.
platforms for goats.
It's so unfortunate that we have to learn some of like the hardest lessons from situations like that.
Right.
Like, it really sucks that it happens,
Yeah.
Thank goodness we learn from it. It just really stinks that that's how we have to learn it.
Yep.
Experience.
And it
So
has
if
to
I
be
can
a
save
cruel
anybody
teacher.
the heartache that I experienced there, it would be don't use pallets. We've
Okay.
used pallets we've taken them apart and used the wood for like a barn wall.
Right.
But even that, it's not made to hold the animals in. It's just there as like a shade, basically, or a
Right,
mild
right.
weather block. We have to have something on the inside, on the animal side of it, because it's not made to contain animals.
Right.
It's pallet wood.
Right.
Don't use pallets.
Don't do that.
Or if you do, reinforce them and make sure there is no possible way an animal could get caught or hung up in it. I see people using pallets as fencing. That is not adequate fencing for goats. They will
Right.
think they can jump on top of it, and they can physically jump on top of it, but then their
Right.
legs will get caught.
Yeah.
Something will break.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Save yourself the headache. It might be inexpensive, but it will end up costing you in the long run.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So what about like regular maintenance? I mean, I think I was going to say, I think most people know that like they need minerals and
You'd be surprised.
they need parasite checks and they need hooves trimmed. But then I come across people who are new into goats and they have the goats and they don't know that their hooves need trimming. And
They probably picked them up off of Craigslist or
Right,
from an auction and thought they were cute. I see even people selling baby goats out in the farmer's market type thing in front of Tractor Supply sometimes,
Right,
or
right.
Rural King, and
Right.
they are selling these goats to people and not giving any advice on care. Please don't buy goats from those people. You don't know what you're bringing home. If you bring home a goat that has yonis and it poops on your property, the yonis is on your property for 5 years.
Right.
Wow.
Like, I know I keep bringing up the yonis, but it's been a
kind of
big
a fear.
problem, and
Yeah.
it's a big fear of mine. So I am neurotic about testing
Right.
and only keeping disease-free animals. You're not supposed to say disease-free, tested negative animals, because things can crop up later.
Right.
But for me, if I have an animal that ever tested positive, it's going in the freezer.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm not
I don't
selling
care.
It to
I'm not
somebody.
selling it to somebody to be somebody else's problem.
No.
I'm not, keeping it and trying to separate it and all.
No.
No, it's immediately a cull for me,
Yeah.
a hard cull, not just a move to the next farm kind of cull.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
I think and beyond that, a bigger problem is that people see them and think they're cute, and it becomes like a purchase on a whim because
Right,
they were there
because
to buy
they're
their
so
chicken
cute
feed
and
or
they're
something, and they
small.
saw them. They're little.
a lot of
right,
times it's the Nigerians that are being sold there, and they have no idea what they're getting into.
right.
Parasites like coccidia. All goats have coccidia. I would venture to say all animals probably have coccidia
Right.
to some extent.
Right.
It's just about how resistant they are and the load of the coccidia. So if you are purchasing a goat, if you are new to the goat world, you have no idea about goats, go to the shows. Breeders love to talk about their animals.
Do some research.
Do some research. But I mean, if you go to a show and you say that you want to get into goats and you need to learn about it, you will have a plethora of people, because dairy goat people love to teach about dairy goats. We're
Right.
really passionate about it. We want people to understand what a commitment it is.
Right.
about the care and the maintenance and the longevity. These animals can live 15 years or more sometimes. My oldest one right now is 10, but she's not showing any signs of slowing down.
Wow.
And they, you will find people to mentor you. There's going to be some people that are a little more short-tempered because they've been burned too many times by people, but for the most part, people get really excited when new people want to get into the goat world, and they want you to be successful. And
so finding a mentor that way from a from a breeder, and I think breeders too are more apt to answer questions when you purchase from them.
Yes,
later
for
down the
sure.
road.
Because I don't have enough time. I homeschool my kids. I make most of our fruit from scratch. I'm gardening. I'm farming. I don't have time to answer questions for everybody,
Right.
even if I wanted to.
Right.
So, but I really make the effort. If somebody purchases a goat from me, I want you to be successful. I will bend over backwards to answer questions for you, to
Right. Well, your farm
to help
name
you out
is
of
attached to
exactly.
those animals too.
And I want the people that purchase animals from me to be successful. I want this to be a good experience, not an experience of stress and heartbreak,
Right.
which, you're going to have that owning livestock of any kind.
Right.
But I would like to minimize it if I can by
Yeah.
heading off some of the issues.
Yeah.
So be respectful. If you are not purchasing goats from from a person, if you're not purchasing animals from a person, don't lead them to believe that you're going to.
And ask all the questions.
And then go buy from somebody else. That is
Right.
a huge slap in the face. It's a huge waste of their time.
Yeah.
Right.
I think there are people that don't realize that that's what they're doing. They just they're like, oh, well, this person's very knowledgeable.
I'll ask her.
I'll ask her. And
Yeah.
then they ask this person spends hours answering their questions, and then they go buy goats at an auction.
Right. Right.
Or
that's not how to research.
And that's how you get blacklisted, and nobody's going to want to deal with you because
Right.
you were so disrespectful of that person's time and energy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And really, when it boils down to it, community's important.
You can't do this alone.
No. No. I mean,
No.
like, y'all filled in the gaps for me, and had I not had that community, I would have been, like, kind of scrambling. It was the weekend. It was at night. I
Right.
didn't have what I needed. Shame on me.
But you're never.
But you can't plan for everything.
Exactly.
Right.
So
Stuff comes
community's
up.
important.
And the
so,
vet can't always get there.
nope.
Right.
People, that seems to be the favorite line in the groups when somebody like Facebook. If you're in a
Right.
farm group and you ask a question or somebody asks a question, the first response people say is call a vet.
Call a vet.
Call a
Call a
vet.
vet.
Do you know how many vets want to treat goats?
Well, the
Vets are few and far between.
In the first place, and then not many of them want to deal with goats
Nope.
because they don't know very much about them. That's
Right.
Any honest vet will admit that. They're like,
Right.
we didn't learn very much about goats in vet school. Like
Right.
most of what they learned came after vet school
through experience.
through experience in treating the animals.
Right.
And we're really lucky to have a couple of different really good vets that will see goats. But because there's only a couple, they're spread very, very thin.
They are spread very thin. They
And
are.
like I needed a health certificate to go to a show. Shows require goats to have health certificates before they get there to make sure that there's a minimal chance of spreading disease. I contacted the vet, I think it was 6 weeks before the show. And they were like, we can squeak you in the day before the show. They fill up
Wow.
so fast. So
I hope nothing comes up for him. It's kind of scary.
yeah, I will be sweating it.
Yeah.
But it's not, you can't always just call a vet.
Right. Yeah. I think you're right. Community is very
Community is
in
important
these
because
cases.
you need the hive mind, the experience. Most of the breeders I know are better at treating goats that are ill than the vets
Than
are.
the vet.
Right.
They are more up to date on the most current research. And that's no fault of the vet. The vets have to know all these different species, whereas
Right.
this breeder has specialized in
In that.
goats or in cow, in their
Yeah.
specialty for sometimes 30 years.
Right.
The lady that I bought my Sonins from has had her Sonins, she's been developing this line for 30 years.
Wow.
They're, the people that supported me when I got started with the Nigerians combined, this is like 50 years of experience, and all these people were willing to help me, and like help me learn and get started and
Yeah.
answer my questions. And you can't.
There's a lot of value in that.
You can do
Yeah.
it as much research as you want on your own.
Yeah.
You know, you can read all the books. I did. I read all the books. I was lurking Facebook groups. There are some things you can't learn until the animals are on your property.
Right.
And so to have real-time experienced people who've
Yeah.
probably dealt with the same issue before
Right.
there to answer your questions is extremely helpful.
Yeah.
It is. I agree. When I got started with dairy cows, I didn't know anybody who kept a dairy cow. I had
Right.
nobody. My mentorship was purely online people that I didn't know.
Right.
And, thankfully, a handful of them were able to converse through private chats, or we exchanged phone numbers a time or two. And again, I had a vet who wasn't very well versed in cattle who was helping us. But it was the online community. It was where I got the most help. So
And I'm very thankful for the people who actually answer the questions without saying call a vet or giving unsolicited advice that has nothing to do with the initial issue or belittling.
It wasn't even part of
That wasn't part of the question.
I didn't ask about feed. Yeah.
Yeah. Or, somebody will post about a sick animal and they immediately tell you to deworm it. Well, that might not be the issue. Let's dig a little deeper. Let's ask
Right.
some more questions about the situation
Right.
before we recommend treatments here,
Right.
I'm very thankful for the people with enough experience to give sound advice. There are a lot of people on the internet that don't have the experience to give advice, that are
Are
very
doing it.
big fans of giving advice.
Right.
So finding real people that have been doing this for a while, compared to a lot of the people that I'm friends with, I have not had goats for very long. I am by no means an expert. I love to research. I love, to geek out over data and new studies that have come out and all of that. So I feel like I know quite a bit, but I don't necessarily have the experience. I've had goats, I think, like 8 years.
Right.
But when you're compared to somebody who's had
Right, you
goats
still
for
feel like a
30
newbie.
years, I still feel like a newbie.
Right.
And I have had my share of issues, but I would not have come out on top without the help of all these
Yeah.
other people.
Right.
Wow.
Wow.
There's you do need to be aware of parasites. Learn to do your own fecals, because vets now, a lot of times, if you try to take it to a vet to have a fecal run, they're going to charge you like $45 to run a fecal float. Most people cannot afford that,
Right.
especially if you have 6 animals.
Right. Well, I was going
Yeah.
to say, nobody has a goat.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Whereas there is a supplier that puts together these kits. It's a goat person, and she lives in Florida. And she puts together kits. It's a whole fecalizer kit. It's everything that you need
Wow.
to
Nice.
run your own fecals with
Yeah.
a in-depth book that she has written with pictures of what the individual parasitic eggs look like and the worms themselves look like. And then she has a link to the microscope that she recommends. So you can buy that entire kit for like $200.
Wow.
And it will last
Right.
you.
That's
And you
4
can
fecals.
run exactly. You can run all your own fecals. Learn to run your own fecals. Learn to pull blood for disease testing. You save a ton of money doing it that way.
Right.
I didn't have people to teach me to do that, so I learned from YouTube. I don't recommend that. Find someone that knows how to pull blood to show you, because I butchered some goat necks. Because you have to pull it from the jugular. Like when I finally got around to cattle, I felt like I could handle cows. Learning to pull blood from the cow tail, I was like, this is like stabbing a water hose. This is fantastic. Because I learned butchering goat necks.
Oh.
So, you
Poor
cannot.
Ellie.
Well, Ellie was fine. It's all the goats.
Right.
Find somebody that can help you learn these things. I have mentored lots of people on how to disbud your own goats. Most vets will tell you that they are not good at it. Find somebody that does it a lot and that will do it for you. And I've taught many people to do it themselves, because you can buy the iron for $80
Right.
and then do all of your own
Right.
kids.
Right.
I understand that it's not a fun experience,
Right.
that it's nerve-wracking, which is why having somebody in person to teach you is very important.
Yeah.
If you do it wrong, you can injure or kill the goat. But if you do it right, it saves you a ton of money. It's less stress on the goats because you're not hauling them away from the house, away from their mom, and then bringing them back. You know, it's lower stress for everybody to learn how to do these things yourself. But
And not call a vet for every single little
Right.
thing, like just
Well,
budding
I
or
mean, I
castration.
think that,
or,
right. Like, I mean, you get to a point where you own livestock. I mean, you have to start learning
Right,
some of these skills that these animals are gonna need.
Right.
You
and
know?
if you can't do that or you're not willing to do that, you're probably
might
not
not-
cut out for
right.
livestock.
Right.
True.
You can have a couple of pets, but if you are wanting to have dairy animals for dairy purposes and breed goats, and you have to be willing, one, to learn how to do the hard things,
Yeah.
and you have to be willing to learn how to cull those animals that
Yeah.
don't work out or that are
And detach yourself a little bit.
compartmentalize.
emotionally.
Yeah, you have to learn how to compartmentalize it. You know, I absolutely love my goats. I have done, you know, I just had a mastectomy done on one because she got gangrenous mastitis
Right.
and almost died, but she is one of my favorite goats, and our extremely talented vet was able to do a partial mastectomy and save the other half of her udder that was unaffected.
Wow.
And, you know, 5 years ago, I would have been like, that's insane. I would never pay for a mastectomy on a goat.
Right.
But this is a special goat.
She's a
Right.
special goat. She's special to
Yeah.
you, and she
Right.
throws
Right.
excellent kids.
That being said, if her quality of life was not going to be good, I would have made the
Yeah.
decision to euthanize her without pausing. You know what I mean?
Right.
There,
You have to be able
you
to
have
do
to
that.
be able to do that.
Yeah.
And even if it's, you know, this goat is not going to have the quality of life because it has poor genetics and its joints are falling apart.
Right.
I'm not going to pass that on to somebody else
Right.
to be somebody else's problem.
Right.
I'm going to euthanize it and put it in the freezer.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, it just does. I mean, we live in a society where all the animals are to be treasured as pets and not used for production in any means, because that just sounds harsh. You know,
Yeah.
like, and it's delusional. You know, it's delusional. It is.
I agree.
And it's the same way people say I couldn't eat something that I named.
Right.
Or if
I had somebody say that to me the other day. Like,
Me too.
oh, I couldn't do meat chickens because, you know. And
Because
I'm
I
like,
love
but,
them.
but do you eat chicken on a regular basis? Yes. Okay, well, I mean,
Do you
that
know
chicken,
how they were raised?
That chicken was alive somewhere.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
either way, you're eating a chicken.
Right.
You
And do
know.
you want to know that the
Right.
animals was on pasture with sunshine and
Right.
Or in a house.
excellent nutrition,
Like-
or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or in a chicken house with no sunshine and no grass and limited space.
You know,
Right.
but a lot of people are just okay with just
they don't
not
want to know.
knowing.
They
Head
don't
in
want
the
to know.
sand.
Yep.
Head in the sand.
It's more comfortable that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just hard.
When you don't have any skin in the game, it's easy to
Yeah.
ignore it.
Yeah. So my point was, I think that's along the same lines of being able to make the hard decisions when it comes down to it. With, I'm not going to breed this goat anymore. She keeps having
Yeah.
trouble
Right.
kidding, you know, and so I'm either going to sell her with full disclosure, or I'm going to put her in the freezer.
Yep.
I love her, but she serves a purpose,
Right.
And her purpose just changed.
And
Yes.
some people do
Yeah.
want pet goats, or they want them for
Yeah.
for land clearing. And so, you know, if you're selling with full disclosure, I'm selling this goat because she does not deliver kids well,
Right.
and they don't plan on breeding the goat. They just want the goat to go eat brush in their back pasture.
Her
like
purpose
Right,
just
that might be-
changed.
your purpose just changed,
Right.
Yeah.
and that's totally fine for that to happen. But I'm super big on full disclosure because I've seen too many times where people get into this and they buy from someone who was not entirely honest or was intentionally dishonest. You know,
They
there's
just
Right.
wanted
there's
to
varying
offload.
degrees.
Right.
Or sometimes people forget because they get overwhelmed and they sell an animal and the person didn't, you know. I'm not putting motive on people right now. I've just seen it happen a lot where somebody gets an animal and was unaware of what it was going to take to care for that animal, or was unaware of these pre-existing issues with the animal, and it just winds up as heartbreak for that person.
That's tough.
And or it even with like there's dishonest people with in the dairy goat world. In any industry there's going to be dishonest people where you see these pictures and this udder looks huge and beautiful. Well, that goat has 36 hours of milk in its udder. It's not going to look like that with a 12-hour fill.
Right.
You're not going to get 4 gallons of milk out of a Nigerian dwarf every day. That's just not going to happen.
Right.
And so if you're purchasing dairy animals, go to the farm. Like, if people are purchasing from me, I talk to them extensively online. I send them pictures of 12-hour fills. You know, that's an overnight fill. That's a normal fill for a dairy animal. It's a 12-hour fill or an 8-hour fill. Or if I have a show fill, you know, if you're going to shows, you do let them fill up a little more because it shows off the attachment of the udder and how the goat moves around a full udder. But there are also goats at shows that I've seen that are very over-uddered. And that is very hard on the animal. It increases risk of mastitis and congestion, and it can overstretch the mammary tissue, so you have blown out teats. And unfortunately, there's a trend in showing dairy goats right now where only the people with overfilled udders are winning.
That's
And the
sad.
judges know it, and I'm not going to name any names, obviously, on a podcast, but I have only seen 2 judges excuse people to go relieve their goats. And then, you know, they're allowed to come back in the ring. Things can get crazy at shows. A goat could be full because you didn't have time to milk it and you had to be in the next ring. You know, if you're in a 4-ring show and the last show of the day isn't until 4 p.m. or the last ring isn't.
Right.
You sometimes forget, you know, to check. But there are people who will show up to a 2-day show and their goats already have full udders when they offload them off the trailer. And those goats stay full the entire weekend. That's not healthy for the
rough.
animal.
No.
Wouldn't their production drop after that?
Yes.
I mean, 'cause
Yeah,
with
you would
cows,
think.
It would
if
have
you're-
to.
If you're not
It's
milking,
supply and demand.
And
right.
you can bring it back up if you're milking 3 times a day and feeding the animal well. But I wish that there would be a change in this trend, because I feel like it's really detrimental to new people because they see these goats at shows and think that that's realistic, think that that's what they're going to get on a 12-hour fill at home, and they're never going to see an udder like that on a 12-hour fill. That's 36 hours of milk.
Wow.
And, you know, the goats, until the judges stop rewarding people for doing that, it's not
It
going to
won't
change.
stop.
And there's only 2 judges that I know of that will excuse people from the ring
Wow.
for that. You know, if the goat is squirting milk everywhere and
Right.
crying because her udder is so full and
that's
waddling,
sad.
That makes
and you're
me
putting
sad.
I know.
it's really, that's been the hardest thing for me the last couple of years,
a
because
little too much.
it's gotten worse the last couple of years, and I don't know
Well-
why this trend has started.
It's not only painful and it's somewhat dishonest.
It
in
is,
my opinion,
because
but
that's
it's-
not what the udder looks like.
right. But it's dangerous to the animal too, right? I
Yes.
mean, that's a
Right,
risk of
there-
mastitis, just like cows, right?
There should almost be some, like
There
you said,
are rules.
some type
There
of
are
rule.
rules in
There-
place,
okay.
and they're supposed to excuse them, but they don't,
Oh,
and
they
they're putting these
don't.
people
Okay.
up and making them grand champion.
Right.
And that, until they stop doing that, or until they start saying, hey, you've got to go relieve this
Right.
animal before you bring it in my ring, until the judges step up and say that, you're just encouraging the behavior.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, especially when I'm doing milk test, I refuse to do that because it's going to hurt my goat's production.
Right.
It hurts the production, it hurts the animal, it increases risk of issues like mastitis, and I'm not willing to do that.
And it hurts the perception of
Exactly.
the animal, you know, for
Exactly.
buyers in the whole goat world.
There's a big issue too with Nigerian dwarves, especially having carpal hyperextension, which is where the front legs hyperextend at the knee and they bend backwards. And
Sounds like something you'd want to call out of your herd.
Yeah.
it does, they're trying to figure out what causes it. We know there is a genetic component to it, but
Right.
it seems almost like it's due to selenium deficiency,
Ah.
especially in utero. So like if the dam is selenium deficient while she's pregnant, the kids tend to have more of an issue. They're trying to fund a study on it right now to figure out what exactly is causing this issue. I
Right.
think it probably has something to do with too much inbreeding as well, because it's a closed herd book. So with standard breeds, you can cross them. You could cross a Nubian with a Saanen, say, and then the kid is considered experimental. And then you
Okay.
can breed back to standard, to either the Nubian standard or the Saanen standard, and it would be an American Nubian or an American Saanen,
Okay.
not a purebred.
Okay.
You can still show against the Nubians and the Saanens, it's just considered American. It means that they, somewhere along the line, had a
Yeah.
different breed mixed in.
My-
Nigerians
my
are not allowed
best-
to do that.
My best animals have always been mutts.
Right, because you get that genetic diversity and that
Yeah.
vigor.
Yeah.
that
Right,
We're
exactly.
not allowed to do that with Nigerians.
Yeah, you
so
get diversity. in
after
the
several
DNA.
generations, a lot of generations
Something's
of
going on.
there's, you only have so much genetic diversity there, and it makes it
Right.
harder. So that probably has something to do with it. But they're trying to fund a study to figure out exactly what is causing this issue. I've been really lucky that has not happened to my goats, but it has happened to goats that are related to my goats. So when I sell goat kids, full disclosure again, I say, listen, this is an issue with the breed. I have these same genetics in my herd because I think that there is a lot of good things about these genetics. This is what I'm doing with my herd and why I think I'm getting the results that I'm getting as far as not having these issues.
Right.
And then it's up to I've lost sales doing that because they're like, oh, I really don't want to touch any genetics that have done that.
Right.
That's your call, which
Right.
is why full disclosure is so important.
Right.
Yeah, and there are so many sellers out there that just do not offer full disclosure.
No.
And I just had to talk with a friend of ours the other day she was trying to find some sheep, and I'm like, you really have to learn to ask the right questions.
Yes.
Because people are not forthcoming usually with the information that you need them to be forthcoming with.
Right.
That's a shame.
And the buyers don't know what they don't know.
Exactly.
No.
They don't know what questions to
No.
ask a lot of time, which is kind of why I'm rambling now, because if anybody is interested in getting into goats,
Well,
I'm
this is
trying
all
to
good.
Yeah.
It's all good
I'm trying to
info.
like
Yes.
lay out some questions for you to ask.
Well, that's the listener whom we're speaking to is,
Yeah.
somebody who doesn't know anything about goats, but they're interested and
Mm-hmm.
think it'd be fun, think it'd be an asset to their new little homestead, and they need to know what to do and what to ask, what to look for.
Yeah, so if we're talking about dairy goats, then we need to talk about breeding those goats.
Right.
Yeah.
And-
Talk to us about that.
And if when I'm breeding goats, I am looking for the traits that I already discussed, the parasite
Yep.
resistance, the ability to maintain your body condition while you're still producing a decent amount of milk. I'm not looking for bucket busters. I want you to not croak off,
Right.
just because I didn't fluff your alfalfa the right way.
Right.
A bougie goat.
Exactly. But if I was purchasing a goat, I would find a breeder who's willing to really discuss things with me. You know,
and tell you
I
the
want
things
somebody
that you
right.
need.
And no shade to breeders who don't have time to do that. Some of these breeders that have 100
Yeah.
goats in their herd, they
Yeah.
full time are taking care of these goats, and they don't have time to answer 9 zillion
Yeah.
new goat owner questions. That gets really old sometimes, especially when they've been burned by people doing that and then not buying from them.
Right, and they go to auction.
They go to another breeder because you cost too much. Well, I just spent hours giving you
Yeah.
free advice. That
Right.
comes with the price of the goat.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
It's part of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want to look for structure. There's a program called linear appraisal that I participate in every year where there is a trained appraiser who comes out and looks at every single goat in my herd that's in milk because they don't have time to do everything. And looks and gives them a score based on linear measurements. So rump width, rump angle, fore udder attachment, rear udder height, because if your udder is low, you don't have very much space between
Sure.
where
Right.
it's attached to fill up with milk. So higher udders hold up better. You want proper leg angulation because that allows the animal to move around their udder instead of smashing it between the legs and causing issues with mastitis. There are reasons why the standards are what they are because it is beneficial to the animal, to the longevity of the animal, to the production, to the ease of kidding. These traits are there for a reason. And so you can look up if you like what you see pictures online, you can go and look up the linear appraisal score on these animals to see what they scored in what traits. So, okay, this goat overall got an excellent 90. They scored a 90.
Okay.
So you can go in and see why they scored that. But what was their rear udder height? Was it a 40, which means really, really high, or was it a 24, which is much, much
A
lower, a
longer,
much
yeah.
bigger space between the top, the vulva and the top of the udder.
Okay.
You want that udder as high as possible. So if I am looking for a new buck,
Right.
and his dam has a 40 in rear udder height, that's going to get my attention because that means her udder was very high.
Okay.
And you can, they have a good explanation of the scores on the American Dairy Goat Association website, so you understand the numbers that you're looking
What you're
at.
looking at.
Exactly.
Sounds like a good resource.
It's
Yeah.
excellent. It's so helpful. And if you're looking to start off with goats and you want to don't start off with trash goats necessarily, but you don't always get what you pay for either, because there are popular breeders who can charge $4,000 for a goat because of the name that's on the goat. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
And
Cows were
I won't spend that on a cow.
but there can be a person down the road with the exact same genetics, with the
Right.
same or better linear appraisal scores, and just because they don't have the name recognition, you can get the
Right.
same quality goat for $500.
Right.
Which is why looking up milk records, looking up linear appraisal scores can be so helpful, because you don't need to spend $4,000 on a goat to get a
Right.
great goat.
Right.
That's a lot of milk and meat you got to get back to pay that $4,000.
Yeah.
It's true. And whereas a $500 goat,
Right.
you can make that back in a season,
Yeah.
with the milk that it's giving.
Yeah,
and
right.
if it
And
has healthy kids
kids,
for you to sell,
right.
you can sell kids to make some of that money back.
Right.
And
I just can't justify that large
no.
of an expense for my hobby farm.
well, I mean, you see dairy show cows, 4,000 would be nothing
Right.
on
Oh, yeah.
a show cow.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same thing.
Right.
Comparatively, goats are still much cheaper.
Yeah.
When I see auction steers going for, $1 million and it's
Right.
a steer,
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
dairy goats don't look so bad.
Right.
Yeah. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a nice looking steer and all, but
But-
come on.
What are you gonna-
Yeah.
not
Right.
bad.
You're
That's
not
an
getting that much in
expensive steak.
beef. I mean, it's just a steer. It's not reproducing,
But that's
Right.
not what the money was about. It was
I
about,
know.
yeah.
It's about a name. It's
And,
about a name.
yeah. So it's
You've given
looking
us some really good information.
looking up the scores, looking up milk records, very important. And getting to know the breeder you're buying from, because a lot of times the pictures on the website are show fills, because your goat's
Yeah.
clipped, it looks beautiful, its udder is full, let's take pictures at the show. That's
Right.
not a slam. It's just, you need to be aware that the pictures that you see online and on the websites are not what that goat looks like in the barn with a 12-hour fill.
On the
Yeah.
on
That
a
is
daily
the
basis.
goat
day-to-day,
at
Yeah.
its top
Yeah.
level quality,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
A
like-
game.
well,
That's the A game.
Right. And who wouldn't want to put their best picture
Exactly.
out?
You want that.
Sure.
That's what
because
everybody does.
That's what the goat looked like at the show.
Right.
That's why it won the
Right.
show.
That's
It's-
the potential of the goat. That's not the
Exactly.
day to day.
But as a buyer, I don't want people to think that that's the day to day. That
right.
goat has been shaved. It has had its hooves polished. It has had its
Right.
udder shaved with a big razor and shaving cream. Like goats naturally have hairy udders. So you either clip them
Yeah.
or you deal with the hair. Like
Do they bick them?
Yeah.
a lot of show breeders, yes.
They bick their udder.
Yes, because
Jenny
it makes
has a
them
hairy
nice.
udder cow.
I do. I have a 14-year-old cow who she just calved, and the calf didn't have a whole lot of energy when she was born, and had a little bit of trouble getting up and didn't suckle well, and so I pulled them both back to the catch pen. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to milk this cow, get some colostrum in this calf, and this cow's udder was
has-
so hairy.
She's old lady hairy udder.
Old lady hairy udder, and I'm like, no, if I do this again, she is getting shaved because
Oh my gosh. She's getting
the hair,
bicked.
I mean, the hair was longer than it was longer than her
Than her
teeth.
teeth.
Oh my
It was
goodness.
like, where are we going here? Yeah. So,
Well, do you have any last questions for Emily?
well, I mean, I think we have enough questions left on our list where we could probably do a part 2.
I'm game for that.
Could.
Yeah.
We probably could. I think that's you gave us a pretty good last word to know what you're getting. Ask all the questions.
Yeah.
Don't waste a breeder's time. But do, I mean, if you are seriously considering goats from a particular breeder because you have researched what they have out there, then ask the questions and know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think that's a great starting point.
Yeah.
Ending point.
Ending
Ending
point.
point.
All right.
Well, this was fun, guys. Thanks for having me over.
Thanks for
Yeah.
coming.
Thanks for entertaining us.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Now I have to go check on my goat that's in labor.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, we will be back next week.
Yep.
And I don't know what we're talking about, but we'll be back.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.